We are living in an era where life expectancy is 100 years. I need to enjoy my second half. Hey, housekeeper, wash and iron this. My husband chuckled, throwing the shirt he had just taken off towards me. He had come home early for dinner, which is seldom, but there's nothing good for me. What's all this suddenly? Did someone say something to you? I sighed as I caught his shirt. It's nothing new for my husband to treat me like a housekeeper, but it still stings when he says it to me directly. However, it's too late to change him, so I swallowed my discomfort. Reeking of alcohol, my husband took a seat at the dining table. Oh, it was the boss. We had a company party today, and the boss said that life is 100 years, so 50 is just a halfway point. I see. So it was the company's boss who planted that idea. My husband casually started picking at my dinner as he continued talking. Hey, housekeeper, I need more booze and some snacks. I had planned on having a simple meal since our daughter wasn't home due to working late. It seemed like my meal would be gone in an instant. Could you please not eat that? I hurriedly tried to stop him, but he just ignored me. Reluctantly, I began to prepare some snacks and extra food for myself. I'm Kayla. I'm a 42-year-old office worker. It's been more than 17 years since I married my husband. Nowadays, he doesn't even call me by my name. He just refers to me as the housekeeper. It seems like from the beginning he wanted a housekeeper and not a loving wife. I met my husband in a bar when he picked me up. At that time, I had undergone surgery for a uterine condition and was unable to have children due to the surgery. So I was planning to spend the rest of my life alone, working, but then my husband approached me in a bar where I was drinking with a friend. I was charmed by his light-hearted and lively personality, and he told me it was okay that I couldn't have any kids. I was moved, thinking he loved me, but I never imagined that he only wanted a housekeeper and didn't need kids. Additionally, my husband, who loves drinking, was out almost every night, so I had no idea he had a grown-up daughter. His daughter, Emily, was 9 years old at that time. My husband was rambunctious when he was younger, got a girl pregnant at 18, married her, and divorced in less than a year. The young couple treated their daughter like a burden. Both refused to take custody of her. Emily was raised by my in-laws. Despite her complicated circumstances, Emily was a very good and obedient child. When Emily met me for the first time, she asked, "Are you going to be my mom? Will you stay with me forever? Will I have a brother or a sister?" One question after another. I'll never forget the look in Emily's eyes at that moment. Emily, who was in the 4th grade, understood that her family environment was different from other kids, and she seemed very lonely. She seemed to believe that by me marrying her father, she could finally have the normal, happy family she craved. I'm sorry. I love children, but due to my illness, I can't have babies. But instead, I promise to take good care of you, Emily. I see. Yes, I understand. I'm happy. You're my mom, just for me. Emily smiled, a relieved and incredibly adorable smile. My in-laws doted on my husband during his upbringing since they had him late in life, but they seemed to love Emily even more since she's their only granddaughter. They didn't think highly of my husband, who treated their precious granddaughter so poorly. Initially, they worried I might be the same type as my husband's ex-wife, and that Emily might get hurt. They had complicated feelings about me. But my elderly in-laws needed someone to take care of Emily, and that's where our interests aligned. I was dealing with the issue of infertility, and my once abandoned dream of having a child could come true if I considered Emily as my own. It didn't take much time for Emily, who was starved for love, and me, who wanted a child, to become like a real mother and daughter. My in-laws, who were initially worried, probably understood that I cherished Emily. Gradually, a trustful relationship was built. Though we were married, my husband soon lost interest in family life. He used to drink with his buddies, but as he aged and couldn't pick up girls as easily, he started frequenting hostess bars. Recently, a young and beautiful hostess is smitten with me, he'd say excitedly. However, he was the one who was infatuated with the young girls. I grew disgusted with my husband, and my love for him faded rapidly. But still, I didn't divorce him because of Emily. Life with Emily was sweet and happy. And because of that, I could endure my husband, who would come home late, all drunk and hurling abuse to me. He never participated in any of Emily's school activities, so people probably thought we were a single mother and daughter. As I looked forward to Emily's growth, time passed, and just the other day, Emily told me, "Mom, there's someone I want you to meet." Emily was already 26. I knew she had a boyfriend and heard about him from time to time, but the day had come when she wanted to introduce him formally. It was an unforgettable moment. Congratulations! I can't believe Emily's already at that age. You've grown up so much. The girl who had been somewhat anxious when we first met had grown into a young woman who could show me her genuine smile. We had truly become like a real mother and daughter. Those were the happy days. The man Emily introduced, a young man named Harley, was a wonderful person. Harley is a great guy, isn't he? You did well, Emily. When I praised him, Emily made a complex face. He's nothing like my father, right? Mom, you don't have to endure for my sake anymore. I want you to divorce my father and be happy too. You're still young. That's true. Actually, Emily had given up on her father a long time ago and had been urging me to divorce him. When we got married, Emily wasn't a child, so I didn't quit my job. I've been working as a full-time employee and I have savings. Honestly, I'm ready to get a divorce at any time, but I just couldn't make up my mind. While eating the snacks I made and sipping his whiskey, my husband said, "Now that Emily's wedding is decided, maybe it's about time for us too." Eh? Time for what? "I think it's time to divorce," he says out of the blue, right before our daughter's wedding. I was taken aback. "But don't you think it would be better if both parents attend Emily's wedding?" I asked. "Kayla, you're such a fool. You and Emily aren't blood related. There's no need for you to attend the wedding." I don't understand. You mean she should go with her biological mother? I have no idea what she's up to these days. Then who will accompany her? My new woman. What? I had no idea what my husband was talking about. She's my girlfriend, a young, cute hostess named Natalie. Really? Are you sure she's not just doing her job? That's what she tells the regular customers, but Natalie is definitely into me. She always says, "If only you weren't married." So I'm going to propose to her on her birthday next month. Life is a long game, and I've still got more than half of it left. Plenty of time to enjoy. Emily would be happier with a young, cute Natalie as a mom rather than a plain woman like you. And I prefer a beautiful woman by my side. So you're no longer needed. Time for a divorce. You've done your job as a housekeeper well, even though you're not even related to our daughter. This man is such an idiot. The shock of his casual divorce announcement was less than the disgust I felt at his stupidity. Don't be so stupid as to believe a hostess's sales talk. And a wedding is not a venue for showing off a beautiful woman. What's the point if the mother who raised the bride isn't there? It doesn't matter who it is, as long as we're not blood related. You are always just a stand-in housekeeper. Don't bother asking for alimony or property division. I don't have any money. I know you've been treating me as a housekeeper. I've completely lost patience with you. Let's get a divorce. It's time to cut ties with this low-life man. I have to start a new chapter of my life. There's no room for feeling troubled. I finally realized my husband's stupidity and was horrified at the same time. Alright, it's settled. I'm not a monster. You can stay here until Natalie moves in, on the condition that you continue doing the housework. Fine. And just like that, our divorce was decided. The next day, I went to the city hall to get the divorce papers. In the evening, while my husband and I were filling out the divorce papers, our daughter came home from work. When we told her about the divorce, she looked confused. She seemed unsure whether she should be happy for me or pretend to be sad. What about my wedding? It would be awkward with both of you there. It's okay if just mom attends, right? Emily casually said something hurtful, but my husband, who thought his attendance was a given, didn't catch on. Don't worry, Emily. I'll bring you a young and cute wife with me. Emily frowned at her dad's absurd statement. What? A wife other than my mom? Dad, have you been cheating? I didn't notice because I thought no woman would be interested in you. Emily was quite sharp with her dad. It's not cheating. Natalie is my main squeeze. Your mom was always just a housekeeper. I never married her because I loved her. That's awful. I've always said this, but aren't you embarrassed to refer to mom as a housekeeper? Shut up. Why do you keep calling her mom? She and I are divorced. She's a stranger to you now. What? My daughter was taken aback for a moment. Her face quickly turned bright red as she shouted in a fluster. Wait, Dad, don't you know? Or don't you remember? What are you talking about? What don't I know? Mom legally adopted me when you and her got married. I was so happy about it. And I remember it clearly. She's not a stranger to me. My husband doesn't quite grasp our daughter's words. Adoption? What's that? I can't believe it. You've completely forgotten. When you and I got married, I also legally adopted Emily. Even without a blood connection, the law recognizes an adopted child as your own. Even after my explanation, my husband still didn't get it. So that's something that automatically ends when we divorce, right? No, it isn't. The adoption is separate from divorce. It doesn't end unless I legally terminate it, and I have absolutely no intention of severing my parental relationship with Emily. That's right, I have no intention of severing my bond with Mom either. What? You two are kidding me. Invalidate that troublesome thing. No matter how much you fuss, it's determined by law. I was thinking of taking Emily in and raising her if it came to that. Emily, knowing that even if I divorced my husband, there would still be a way for her to be with me, encouraged me to divorce for my own happiness. The next day, I submitted the divorce papers and the divorce was finalized, but I was still living in the house. With over 17 years of life in it, there was quite a bit of stuff to sort out. When I contacted both my parents and my husband's parents, they were all in favor of the divorce. However, my husband's parents strictly told me to make sure I got alimony and to divide the property. They also advised me to sell the house we were living in and make some money from it. Even though he was their own son, they seemed fed up with what he had done to their granddaughter and me. Then the next day, "Hey, I've decided to remarry you." What? At dinner time, my husband came home and said that out of the blue. Emily and I were wide-eyed. What happened to the young and cute Natalie? She wasn't at the bar today. When I asked, my husband answered briefly. Emily and I didn't understand what he meant, so we waited for his explanation. She quit her job at the bar and she's gone. My husband repeated almost the same words again and again, but Emily and I kind of got the gist of it. Apparently, my husband's belief that he was being loved by a young girl was a product of his inflated ego. Emily was the first to burst out laughing. Dad, she wasn't into you at all. Emily was laughing so hard that tears were streaming down her face. Well, is that so? I couldn't help but smile and was at a loss for words. I didn't know who Natalie was, but seeing my husband looking downcast was refreshing. It's no surprise a young girl isn't seriously into a middle-aged guy like you. She never even considered you in the first place. Emily was laughing hysterically and my husband was getting angry. Emily, how dare you say that to your father? Natalie was going to become your mother. I already have a mother, and I don't need a father. My daughter didn't back down either, and I did my best to suppress my laughter. What a disgraceful child. Hey, Kayla, it's your fault for raising her this way. Mom's not to blame, Emily retorted. I got the brunt of my husband's misplaced anger, but my daughter quickly defended me. I couldn't help but smirk, like I'd listened to someone who's never had a hand in raising our child. Also, if things go wrong, you blame me, you just call me your housekeeper. There's no way I'm remarrying someone like that. I made myself clear to my oblivious husband, but he insisted. But you didn't say anything until I brought up divorce, did you? Didn't you have no complaints? No. All I have for you is complaints. But for our daughter Emily's sake, and because it was too much hassle, I didn't divorce you. At first it was because Emily yearned for a family with both parents. After Emily gave up on having her father in her life, I had strangely accustomed to my husband's emotional abuse. But finally, I realized I must sever this terrible relation. Well then, why don't we remarry for Emily's sake? If you're not around, who's going to take care of me? Dad, I can't believe it. Who would want to marry someone who says that? Ignoring Emily's words, my husband tried to persuade me. Emily's building a new family. There's no point in us remarrying if Emily's not there. Aren't you worried about being alone in your old age? If we're married, you'll at least get some of my wealth. I couldn't help but snort at his words. Wealth? You don't have any savings, do you? I knew very well that my husband, who spends most of his income on frivolous things and rarely contributes to the household, had no savings. Even if I don't, my parents do, don't they? They even have their own house. As expected, my husband was relying on his parents' inheritance, but he was being too optimistic. The thing is, your parents are thinking of leaving their wealth to their granddaughter Emily, not you. They've been consulting with a tax attorney about it, so I don't think much of the inheritance will go to you. In fact, I was the one who introduced them to that tax attorney. I understand my in-laws' feelings very well. What? I barely have any savings. My husband suddenly seemed deflated. Kayla, you still love me, right? You won't abandon me? I couldn't help but laugh at my husband's timid plea. This person is truly an idiot. Why shouldn't I abandon the man who discarded me, saying he no longer needed me? I don't love someone who calls me a housekeeper. Oh, and by the way, Your mom told me to make sure you take responsibility. I'm going to hire a lawyer and demand alimony and damages. I have all the evidence of your emotional abuse, so I won't lose. Pay with the money from selling the house." At my words, my husband fell silent. "Dad, if you're going to call Mom a housekeeper, you should pay her proper compensation and divide your assets, then get out of our lives." At Emily's cold words, my husband opened his mouth as if to say something, but ultimately hung his head in silence. My husband, who had lived as he pleased and was now rejected not only by me, but also by his parents and daughter, this was fully deserving of his fate. Look, you're on the second chapter of your life, right? So let's really say goodbye this time. After that, as planned, I sold the house we had lived in, divided the proceeds, received a hefty sum for alimony, and started living alone near my daughter's place. My daughter had asked me to live with her, but I didn't want to intrude on her newlywed life and wanted to enjoy my own quiet time, so I respectfully declined their kind offer. My husband ended up living and working on a construction site somewhere, thanks to his father's connections. I have no idea where he is now. The trigger for this divorce, my daughter's wedding, was attended by me and my in-laws without my husband. When I heard the letter from the bride, "Thank you for raising me like a real mom," I couldn't stop my happy tears. I'm relieved to have been able to send off my daughter safely. Finally, truly happy days are within my grasp, and every day is now truly enjoyable.